I have a new book review for you. I have a couple that are coming up, but I wanted to circle back to a video that I just did a couple down before for the Lilac people. And I was only 3 chapters in when I did that first video, and I just said, this book is going to be important. I can feel it. And I was 100% right. So I just finished The Lilac People by Milo Todd, and this book is an emotional roller coaster, which, again, is to be expected. The subject material is heavy. It is a piece of history that is not talked about that often. Just as a refresher, this story is of Bertie and Sophie and Carl. Bertie is a trans man. This is World War II, post-World War II, 1945 Germany. The Allied forces have liberated Germany, liberating the concentration camps, but not liberating LGBTQ people because they need to go start the sentence for their crimes. I literally get a little nauseous every time I even have to say that because it's, like it just, I can't even with that. So Bertie and Carl is also trans. Sophie is part of the LGBTQ community as well. They are in this, we've survived the war, we've survived the camps, and now we have to survive the Allies who, the American commander in this, just hacked me off to no end. But I think the research that went into this book is phenomenal. And this is their journey to try to save themselves, to try to escape their country, what they thought would be the place that they would be able to stay now that the war is over and Hitler and the Nazis are gone, or, being punished for what they did, and they still have to flee. And what's more is they have to flee from a country who hates them to a country who hates them, which is, it just, it's mind-blowing. Anyway, this is a must-read book. I haven't seen this book getting a lot of buzz, and I don't know why. This is an important book. If you have any sort of pattern recognition at all, you're going to read this book going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, holy crap. Like, the similarities they are screaming at you in this book. And there's a couple of things I just wanted to point out. There was one little quote in here kind of towards the end that really, I think, says it well in terms of how scary it is with how this bigotry and this hate can hide in plain sight. So again, Bertie is our main character. Carl is posing as Bertie's nephew. And they've just had an interaction with some Nazis on the ship where they're fleeing, where the Nazis, of course, don't know who they are. They don't know their real identities. And so they help Bertie and Carl. And Bertie says, they're so nice. I can't believe they're so nice. They're like normal, everyday people. Carl swallowed between his still heavy breaths. That's what makes them so terrifying. I mean, how true is that? And it's, again, can you imagine the internal conflict that Bertie is going through? Like, these Nazis were just so nice and so helpful and really life-changing for Bertie and Carl. But Bertie and Carl also know that these are the people that were exterminating their friends and family. Like, can you imagine the absolute mind twist that is? Because I try not to swear. There was another, I think this passage to me was the moment when all of the alarm bells were going off in my head, and it was just like freaking clarion call book right here. Bertie is, in 1934, Bertie is the assistant to Dr. Hirschfeld, who ran an institute in Berlin that in the 1930s was educating people about the LGBTQ community, providing support and assistance and a safe space and surgeries and hormone therapies. And again, we're talking the 1930s. All of this was happening. And also had this huge library of resources. They were collecting the history of the LGBTQ community around the world because it's not like they haven't been here this whole time. So Bertie asks Dr. Hirschfeld, who has just been attacked on the streets again for his work and his support of the community. He says, "Why do you do this?" And Dr. Hirschfeld says, "A country is only as strong as its most vulnerable people. And you, son, if you may forgive me for saying, are on the lowest rung of the ladder. You're a canary, Bertie. Transvestites are the canaries of the world. You know from our own library that bad people always go after transvestites first, no matter the country or culture. They are the first ones removed when an environment turns poisonous. What makes it more worrisome is you represent everything. You represent housing and job security and access to health care. You represent workers' rights and voting rights and full stomachs and freedom. And perhaps most important of all, you represent the right to body and personhood. You represent a country not owning you, not using you, however benefits a select few at the top. You represent a country of people, not a country of the dominant. If transvestites are under attack, then the whole of the country is on the brink of destruction. If transvestites are cared for, the rest of us are cared for. You touch everything a strong society has to offer. We could work, we could eat, we could be healthy, we could live in safe homes, we could decline to fight in unnecessary wars. Our country would be honest. We would no longer be tricked. Our country would take care of us, and we, in turn, would take care of our country. So as long as transvestites are okay, we know society is too. That's why I'm here for you, because I love my country. Now, I want to point out there is a disclaimer in the very front of the book, which I think is very important. It says that, sorry, let me find it here. Krudsky, sorry, bear with me. Please note that all terms used in this novel reflect the story's era. Terms such as transvestite are outdated and should be avoided when referring to transgender people of today. So, again, I was reading directly from the book. Transvestite is the term of the era, but it is not how transgender people like to be referred to today. So just please keep that in mind. But does that passage not just blow your mind and raise all of the red flags? Because when the most vulnerable people in our society are under attack, society is under attack. There's no other way about it. And who are the most vulnerable people in our society? Trans people, other members of the LGBTQ community, people of color, minorities, immigrants, children, the elderly. These are the most vulnerable in our society. And as we see attacks on them grow, this is why you have people that are screaming at the top of their lungs warnings to our country, because we have seen this before. Pattern recognition, history. I could soapbox on this, it feels like forever. We have seen this before. We have seen these attacks before. Just because they are not taught in history does not mean they didn't exist. We know where this goes. When we start making lists of people that have certain qualities or certain neurotypes or certain gender identities, and we know where that goes. We know. Keep in mind, the Institute, Dr. Hirschfeld's Institute, had meticulous records of the people that they served. Addresses, names, phone numbers, if they had a phone, where they worked, who their families were. And when the Institute fell to the Nazis, guess what those records were used for? They were used to hunt down the most vulnerable in the society. So, this is a must-read book. Must read. Recommend this to everybody. It's so good. I do recommend the physical copy. The audiobook version has some issues with it. I'm reporting that to hopefully get that corrected, because I think it's like a technical glitch. But I listened to the audio version. It was still phenomenal. So, but again, if you can get a physical copy, get a physical copy, because this book is so important. It's so important. I cannot emphasize that enough. This book is maybe the most important book you will read this year. So go read this book.